Event of the day, the annual construction philosophy lecture, which we are launching this year with the only person we could choose for the job, Dr. Sreedharan. I wouldn't dare to introduce him. Introductions are about familiarity because people are known in their different spheres of activity. But when a composite audience meets in a place like this, it becomes necessary for us to go through the CVs and bios and all that, and achievements and all that. But there are some among us who don't need an introduction. We, as I said earlier, we are grateful, we are privileged, and we think we think it's a matter of pride for construction philosophy family that we have with us today such an eminent son of India, Padma Vibushan, Dr. Sreedharan. You can just do a little bit of flashback in your mind about the Konkan Railway, about the Delhi Metro, about the Palm Bridge, and our very own iconic Kochi Metro, which has changed the face of the city. And the kind of example that Sreedharan sir has set for each one of us in our personal lives, as professionals, as students, as people who work for the larger society. And I think that example is the most important part of this man. And if I am asked to count on my fingers the number of people whom I would rate as the true sons of India, I would without a doubt rate him as the first person. Thank you very much for having come here, and with great sense of warmth and love and affection and respect, may I, on behalf of everybody gathered here, invite you to deliver the CV Memorial Lecture. Thank you, sir. Please.
Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, at the very outset, I would like to congratulate Mr. Nebi Abraham and his team for organizing this very valuable and needed construction philosophy program. I must apologize to you. I didn't know architect Ankur Modi will wait for me to commence his lecture. Normally I am a stickler for punctuality. I would have then come right on time. That doesn't matter. I wish to congratulate Mr. Ankur Modi for the wonderful presentation he has made. I don't think this part of our country had a deliberation or a conference on construction problems for a very long time. It has become very necessary from the present day outlook. Our country is already one of the fifth main economic powers of the world. And in another 2 or 3 years, will be occupying the third position And driving the economy of any nation or a country means a large number of infrastructure projects. And there, the construction industry comes into the picture. I have been associated with the construction industry almost from very young age of my career. In fact, for the last 68 years, I had the good fortune to handle very many important infrastructure projects for the country, and I learned a lot of things, the needs of the industry, the mistakes the industry makes, how the industry can be brought up to the international level standards. And these are the few things I would like to share with you today. In construction field, particularly in the construction industry, time is money, which means completing the works on time is very important. If you really take the priority that I give in the construction area, the first and foremost would be safety at the construction site. Safety of the laborers, engineers, safety of the public. That's the most important thing. The other is completing the works to the highest standards and finish. This is one area where we generally don't give much attention to, but that is very, very necessary. And the third thing is completing projects on time. I have given only the third position for timely completion, although I mentioned to you that in construction, time is money. People involved in the construction jobs know very well how time is important for completing the work on time. And of course, the last is try to complete the works without any cost overrun. This is also equally important. I had the experience of monitoring or supervising construction jobs taken up by our Indian contractors as well as foreign contractors, particularly in regard to the Delhi Metro. There one thing I observed was the foreign contractors are very, very meticulous in two areas. One is safety at the construction site, and then completing the works on time. They're spending any money or any investment to safeguard the name of completing works on time, which I didn't find very much with the Indian contractors. This is one thing I think Indian construction industry should learn. Completion of works on time. That automatically controls the cost overrun as well. Of course, all depends upon the environment in which the construction is carried out, what the contractors have to perform. In our country, it's a normal thing for even a small construction to take years and years, particularly in our own state, Kerala. We have seen the Alleppey bypass. It is hardly 4 or 5 kilometers of elevated road. Had taken something like 14 or 15 years for completion. And similarly, very many works that we see around takes many years to complete. This is one thing. I don't blame only the contractor or the construction agency alone to blame. The default is more from the client, particularly the government. We are not able to hand over land in time. We are not able to give decisions in time. And worse still, we don't pay our contractors on time. When I started Konkan Railway, the first thing I did was to give an assurance to the contractor that he will get his payment right on time. That is how we introduce a system by which if a contractor submits his bill, 80% of the bill amount will be paid to him in 48 hours, regardless of what he has done. And the balance in another 1 week or 10 days. You see, we should accept the fact that the contractors take up works. It's a business for them. They want to make money out of it. Certainly. And he has own his calculations. Most of the works are done by him with borrowed money, with very high interest rates. And we are not able to service the loans he has taken. Naturally, he will fail. I've seen very many contractors failing on the works only because they don't get payment in time. We have also instances in Kerala where contractors have committed suicide because he had borrowed money, he had done the work, payments were not made to him for some reason or other. This atmosphere is spoiling the whole thing. A contractor should be very sure that when he does the work, he will get a payment for it. And that I have been able to introduce from Konkan Railway onwards, Delhi Metro, in Kochi Metro, all the works that I handled earlier. And that has made a lot of difference the way the works were carried out, where we were able to get the works done on time. And another thing is a trust between the client and the contractor. This is very essential for the completion of any project. I have been trained to respect the contractors or the construction agency when they take up any work. I have been told that the success of the client ultimately depends upon the success of the contractor. If the contractor succeeds, the client also gets the credit for it. If the contractor fails, the client does not get any credit for timely completion. So it is very essential in any project to ensure that the contractor never fails. He gets all the assistance that is possible within the rules and within the law so that he is able to perform his work very well. This message I've been spreading everywhere where I work, that please remember, our success will ultimately depend upon the success of our contractors. I have very many cases, I don't want to go into the details here, where a contractor has actually failed, but we did not allow the works to suffer. We tried to go on pumping help to him some way or other to see that until he completes the work somehow. The main reason why I find contractors fail are, as I told you, the land is not handed over to them in time. The designs and drawings are not given to in time. When there's a problem, decisions are not given in time. This depends upon, certainly on the client, to ensure that the contractor does not face any of these problems on the field. I'm only detailing out how we can bring up our construction industry so that the challenges that the country will face in reaching a 10 trillion economy, we have the construction industry to cope up with this. This is very, very essential. My own personal experience is our construction industry has not come up to the level that we need, the country needs. We have got only a handful of contractors who can be fully counted upon, finish their works on time. That is not enough. Everyone who takes up the work should be able to complete the jobs on time, safely, and with the highest quality of work. That we have to ensure. How do we do it? It is only because by giving the required help to the contractor in time. I had mentioned about the need for timely payments in construction jobs. We, particularly in Kerala, the construction industry is facing a lot of problems today. One thing is sufficient amount of work for them, for the capacity they have created. Sufficient work is not readily available. Maybe the COVID epidemic, one of the reasons. But even after that, the works are not flowing. They are not spread out to the contractors to come and take up in time. We take months and months to float a tender, take months and even years to finalize the tenders, and many of the conditions that are put are very unworkable. That sort of thing happens. Mostly in regard to contractors who make the mistake of diverting advances given, advance for the works, advance for machinery, given that temporarily divert for something else, real estate or something, and they run into cash flow problems. And that makes the work suffer very badly. This has to definitely should not be allowed at all. We also have the problem of sufficient number of skilled labor on the field, particularly Kerala, where we depend upon other states for giving the labor strength. And most of them who come from other states, they're all unskilled. Skilled labor is so short. That is one of the biggest problems the construction industry is facing. not only in Kerala, throughout the country. The government of India has taken up many measures for skill development and make people available for the skill type of job that is needed. The technology is changing. The type of construction machinery, they are changing. Today we have construction machinery for every type of job, for any type of situations, for any type of terrain conditions. That's not readily available. Foreign countries, contractors have got an easy way of getting the right type of construction machinery for the job, because there are people who lend this type of jobs easily, but we don't have that. If we want a specialized crane, often it may have to come from Delhi, Bombay, or not available at all. We don't have the system of right up sufficient type of and all varieties of construction machinery readily available on loan or on lease, so that contractors don't have to invest money on such matters. This is one thing that has got to be developed. I had mentioned about the importance of insisting on high quality of work at site. This also does not happen. Right under our nose, we have the example of Palarivattam Bridge. I don't like to go in the details why the bridge failed and how it was ultimately restored. But we have not learned any lesson from such failures. That is the most disappointing situation. When Palarivattam Bridge failed, the hurry for the government was to find out who went wrong, get him arrested or get him suspended. They never bothered to appoint a high-level technical team to find out what has really gone wrong, so that this does not get repeated again. Even today, I don't think anybody has come across. I am fully aware what had gone wrong in Palarivattam Bridge. Now, ladies and gentlemen, these are all happening in our country mainly because we don't have a statutory body to monitor engineering education, engineering practices. Most of the other bodies have got some statutory cover, like doctors, architects, even company secretaries, chartered accountants. They all have got a statutory body which controls the profession, which is able to monitor everything. But engineers is the biggest body in the country. We don't have a statutory authority which can make an engineer responsible. We all think that getting a degree from a college or a diploma from a polytechnic is good enough. This is not accepted in other countries. They must have their academic qualification, they must have their practical experience, but they must again pass through the tests prescribed by the statutory body, which is not happening. That is why you find a large number of accidents occurring at our work sites. I took up this issue very seriously about 7 or 8 years back. Wrote to the Prime Minister saying that all other countries have got statutory bodies to control the engineers, and we don't have in this country. the government took prompt action, I would say. They constituted a committee with Dr. Anand of IIT Madras as the chairman, who framed an engineer's bill for being passed by the parliament. Everything was done. That is about three and a half years back. Even today, the bill has not gone to the parliament. Now, the excuse being given by the government, I have been following this up myself and some of other engineers who are concerned about the state of engineering practice that is happening in our country. We have been following it up very closely. Earlier we were told that next session of the parliament, the bill will go and get passed. It didn't happen. It is at that time the national education policy came out. And now they are saying that under the national education policy, there is going to be a vertical sector which will discharge the functions of a statutory body. I have no faith in this. It is not going to happen. So we are again taking up with the Prime Minister at the highest level that we must have a statutory body in the country's engineering practice, engineering standards, engineering education. They are all brought to the international level. Today, the engineering status of engineering education is so poor. We are all very proud of our IITs and NITs, and rightly so. But I must remind you what our IITs are famous of, not because of the type of education or type of teaching that is being given to the boys. It is only because the way the students are selected for the IITs. The best talents in the country only are able to enter the IIT. Naturally, they will do well, whatever be the type of education given. That is how IIT boys have got this sort of reputation. I feel there is a lot to be made up, even IIT type of education. And Kerala is a very, very disappointing state of affairs, the type of education given for the engineering students. For one thing, thank you. There are more than 150 engineering colleges here. And there is now an admission test for the engineers. But do you know, the marks prescribed for the admission test is 10. Even they get 10 marks in mathematics, they can still get admission in the engineering colleges. You can very well imagine an engineer who joins an engineering college just gets into it only with 10 marks in mathematics. Engineering is basically physics and mathematics. You must have really highly proficient in these two areas, which is not happening. And I have seen people who don't get admission anywhere else, BSc, MSc or something, they go for engineering because they want to continue their studies. The level of engineering education is so low in Kerala. I had, after the Technical University was formed in Kerala, the very first Vice Chancellor resigned midway and left. You know why? He tried his best to improve the educational standards. And the first thing to do to improve the educational standards is not merely the textbooks or the syllabus that has been prescribed, by the type of examination that is conducted. Most of the engineering colleges today, the technical university, there is no real examination. Every alternate year only there is an examination. How do you expect the students to come up to the required level? So this is one thing. When the first Vice Chancellor of the Technical University resigned, I went to the court with a PIL, Public Instruction Litigation, saying that the standard of education in Kerala is so poor, government is not allowing the Vice Chancellor to improve the standard, therefore it is left and gone away, something has got to be done. Do you know what did the government did? They gave a submission to the court. Yes, we are aware of it. Within 1 year, we will see that the whole thing is completely re-looked into and will improve the standard. Nothing has happened. I have not followed up the PIL, nor do I have time for all this, nor the money also. You know, a PIL means costs a lot of money. Nothing has happened. So, apart from the low standard of engineers, the supply is much more than the demand. That is also creating a problem. Many of our engineers can't even speak English very well. Although whenever I go to an engineering college for meeting students or giving lectures, one thing I always insist on them is, you are learning engineering in English. All your textbooks are in English. Most of you are not going to get jobs in Kerala alone. Majority will have to go out, and you must improve your English. You must have good communication skill, which is missing here. Now, these are the many problems that the engineering body or the engineering persons, engineers in this country face. Something has got to be done for all these things. I am ashamed to speak about in this forum about the level of corruption that takes place in our engineering field. You ask any honest contractor how much he has to suffer because he has to spend such a lot of money for items which are not concerned with the work, particularly in our local bodies, municipalities and panchayats. Any contract given, it is 30 to 40% of the value of the contract he has to set aside for bribing people. And the balance work, he is not able to do it. We all talk about corruption only with politicians and other people. And this is a thing that is taking place not because the contractor wants it, but the environment is such that he is compelled to practice it. And all this will not come if there is a statutory body in the country to safeguard the engineering industry and the engineering fraternity. So, my appeal to all of you present here is to see that we take all efforts to bring in a suitable engineers bill to safeguard the interest of the engineering industry. My own request to all the contractors is, when you take up the work, be very serious about completing on time. You can make any profit, we don't mind, but that profit should be made in a dharmic way, in a righteous way, not through any other means. Our scriptures say that any wealth that we create should be only through dharmic methods, dharmic ways, which is through real righteous ways. And that is very important. Another very unfortunate scenario I find, particularly in Kerala, in the government. There are very good engineers available with the government, but they are not allowed to function properly. The bureaucracy is always sitting on top of them. Even departments which are only connected with engineering projects, I wonder why that department should be headed by an IAS person. For example, the water authority, Kerala Water Authority. Why should be headed by an IAS person and not by an engineer? All because of this, I told you, engineers don't have the proper status, proper good reputation and respect in the state. And the worst still is, an IAS officer with 4 or 5 or 6 years of service is the MD, and chief engineers with 30 years of experience have to take orders from him. Are we not humiliating our engineers by this sort of treatment? Electricity board, purely a technical subject. Why should the chairman of the electricity board be an IAS person? And our engineers, I have come across many of them, some of them when worked with me. I have found them really very good. But they are not allowed to take decisions. They are not allowed to go ahead. For everything they require sanction. That is to be given by an IAS person who keeps the file, who is not bothered about what is happening. And the worst thing I find here is, engineers are not exposed to new ideas. What is happening in the rest of the world? I don't think any of our engineers are sent abroad to see what is happening abroad, what new technologies are available. There is not even a good training institution for them. There is no in-house, there is no training for them after 10 years or 15 years. That facility is not available. How do you expect the engineers to come up? There are certain states in our own country where the PWD is headed by not an IAS person, by an engineer. Why can't we have that sort of thing in this country also? So that engineers are given due respect, due regard, and they are proud of their own achievements. That is not allowed to happen here. It is a very unfortunate thing. I think things are so different in organizations like railways. Their engineers are trained, first 2 years are pure training for them. They are given training every 10 years, 15 years. They are all sent abroad very often so that they see many things. I recall my own experience when I was just a deputy chief engineer in the railways. I was working for the Calcutta Metro. At that time, the Tokaido line, the high-speed railway line Japan, from Tokyo to Osaka, was under construction. And Japan had organized a tunnel seminar. And the railway board decided that since Calcutta Metro also has to be underground, an engineer should be sent to attend the tunnel seminar in Tokyo. And they selected my chief engineer, one Mr. J.N. Roy, to go and have attend the seminar for 3 or 4 days. You know what Mr. J.N. Roy did? He said, I have got just 2 years only to retire. Even I go to Tokyo, attend the seminar, and learn something. Where is the time for me to contribute to the country? It's a wrong thing to send such a senior man for the training, for the seminar. This is in 19 I think 1964. He said, instead of my going, I would like to send a youngster for this training. He recommended my name. I was then a Deputy Chief Engineer Designs in Calcutta Metro. Railway board readily agreed, and I was sent. What I did was, this was a good opportunity for me to see many things. I went there, I attended the tunnel seminar, but stayed on in Tokyo for another 4 or 5 days, getting money from my nephew who was a doctor in America for my stay. Went to the metro offices, metro design office, metro sites, and collected all the drawings. They were all in Japanese, no doubt. Came back to Calcutta. And ladies and gentlemen, if you see the civil structures of Calcutta Metro, they're all designed by me as a Deputy Chief of Designs, only because of the exposure I had in Tokyo at that time. And it doesn't stop there. That type of exposure I had has ultimately resulted in a world-class metro for Delhi, many metros in the country, which ultimately gave me the title of Metroman of the country. You see, this sort of attitude is totally missing in Kerala. Engineers are not given any exposure, any encouragement, any training, whatever. All this has got to be changed. If we have a statutory body, they will ensure all these things. Every engineer must have a minimum so much of experience. My grandson, who passed out in civil engineering, he wanted to do his MTech in structural engineering, went to America, did his MTech, but he could not practice there. They won't allow him to practice until he passed the authority, the statutory authority clears him for practicing. It took him 2 to 3 years to pass that examination. Then only he is allowed to practice there. That is required if you want to really have world-class engineers in our country. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy to be with you and to be part of this construction philosophy workshop that is being organized. I want to thank particularly Mr. Nebo Abraham, who gave me all the assistance to come over here and to be with you on this occasion. I am now coming to almost back end of my professional life. I have stopped all professional activities since last 2 years. I would not have normally come for this, but for Mr. Nebo Abraham's efforts. I only wish engineers present here take at least some inspiration, some lessons from what I have placed before you. Thank you very much.
ഒരു മെമെൻറ്റോ സാറിന് നെബുവിൻ്റെ ഒരു ഉപഹാരമുണ്ട്. നെബുവിൻ്റെ ഒരു ഉപഹാരമുണ്ട്. നെബുവിൻ്റെ ആ പ്ലീസ് നെബു. Now, I don't know. Honestly, we feel quite proud about this moment for 2-3 reasons. This is one idea that the core idea about the engineering profession in this country needing a council, a central statutory body, has been an idea that Dr. Sreedharan has been trying to pursue with us too. And if I remember right, we had done a very serious webinar on this theme. Shri Surya Prakash was there. We had done a detailed webinar series on this. But unfortunately, in this country, we find that there is a conflict between the architects and engineers. Apparently, the architect community feels that, an engineer statutory body for the engineers could be something detrimental or something like that, which is a very sad situation, if I might say. I may be wrong there. But I have been talking to Council of Architecture chairman who was with us. He was completely in agreement for the need for a statutory body, if I remember right. So I think that is the spirit. So thank you very much, sir, for flagging that very central point. And Nebu is like a son to Sreedharan, sir. So he has always obliged him. So Nebu, and please, I think we should also invite our major association leaders. Yeah.
I request all the associate members to please join us. Sir, please. Anil sir, Prakash sir, Surya Prakash sir,